I just want to look back briefly on the news of the week, and that was Sharpie Gate. I think the most detached from reality a politician has been and forced everyone else to become. But this is much less about the individual Sharpie Gate story and more about a trend in government where Donald Trump's lack of willingness to accept that he was wrong doesn't just mean that he comes off as a little bit crazy, but that actually means that the government is dispatched to support him. So just really fast, let's just finish up with Sharpie Gate, where Donald Trump Sharpied on a marker to imply that Alabama was gonna be hit by Hurricane Dorian. So anonymous White House official tells Washington Post that it was Donald Trump that did the Sharpieing, surprising everyone. Of course it was him. And by the way, I don't know for sure that it wasn't already for sale, but they're selling thin markers on his campaign website, which seems to be an acknowledgement.
And all those, and just think for a minute about all those shots that you got from NBC News that showed that the president took the notes he had for some kind of speech and marked over the top in like a thick Sharpie marker. Like the guy uses Sharpies on everything.
Maybe his bad eyes.
And that's it. And that's just the kind of Kool-Aid man burst through reality approach the president has had since the beginning. I'm just gonna make it this way. Marky, sharper marking.
Yeah, that was how we found out about the fact that he thinks that the greatest terrorist threat to the US is spelled ALCAIDA.
Yeah.
We just glossed over. It's just okay. Yeah, he thinks Al Qaeda is spelled that way. But anyway, look. So it was definitely him. If you're a Trump supporter, to me, you either pass the Sharpie test or you don't. You either can acknowledge that that is really weird, and if I found out that Brett had Sharpied an image to lie to make himself seem right, I would think about that for the rest of the time that I knew Brett. That would be a really weird thing for the president to do it in an official, like that either bothers you or just stop pretending that you care about anything.
That's like,
literally.
you know, there was some cartoon I saw back in the day where the person got an F and then like drew down a line at the end of the F to make it a very boxy
The Simpsons,
A.
they did that for a report card.
So yeah, for a report card, that's what it was.
Yeah.
And that's what this is. And let's go into the psychology of it. Like let's go into the psychology of who would support that. There's someone who has other priorities, so they don't care. So long as and that's the tax cut Republican who says, I know he's insane. I really don't care. For now,
that's fine.
It works for me. That's not fine. That's
insane.
Terrible. But they're not going to acknowledge. None of these people are acknowledging it outright. They're lying about it. Like Lou Dobbs.
Yeah.
Lou Dobbs is the kind of person. Sean Hannity is the one who knows better. But then there's other people who like that mentality. They want things to be true and they like to just say falsehoods and have other people believe them. And it's a deeper level of like quasi-psychosis, and psychosis is divorcing yourself from reality. It's not clinically the same thing, but that general dynamic applies where you're just like, if I had my druthers, I would change reality to be more in line with all my other druthers. And that's what's happening, and that's who the presidents and those are people who like a winner.
Yeah.
They don't realize that the winner in this case is acting like an utter loser.
Yeah.
By just drawing on a map, which is a crime, to doctor a National Weather Service forecast. Like imagine the Weather Service being like, Alabama, listen, calm down. It's not actually coming for you.
Well, they said that.
Your president has lost their mind.
I'm just glad that he did it this way because it's one thing to just double down, triple down, quadruple down on you being wrong or whatever. But in particular, like if I could, considering how little respect I have for him, if I could have him do one thing, it would be for him to like pick up a crayon or a marker and just start scribbling on things. And that's what he did.
Yeah.
Anyway, look, there are many of you out there who don't care, fine. You think that it's weird to focus on the fact that the president has no connection to reality. I personally think that's very important. But let me try to make one last appeal to you, and that is that even if you don't care about Sharpie Gate, you don't care about the fact that he had a rear admiral take the fall for him, that you don't care that he potentially broke the law, fine. Over the course of his presidency, in many cases, he has said something that is not true, and to cover for him, to make him feel better, the US government has had to expend resources and money and time to try to make him feel better himself. And I wanna run through a couple of the greatest hits or misses. So Obviously, he cares a lot about the wall. He wants you to be scared about what's coming across the wall. And so at one point, an official US government document was put out. Let's take an image. You're gonna see some really scary statistics there. So look at that number in the middle. 3,755 known or suspected terrorists prevented from traveling to or entering the US. So Trump had been talking about terrorists coming across the southern border. And so it became a thing where in these official documents, in multiple interviews that Sarah Huckabee Sanders did, they parroted that number. That number doesn't mean anything like what they're implying it means. It does not mean that these are terrorists. It means these are people coming from countries where a terrorist has come from. And those people are not coming across the southern border. Those people were apprehended or at least talked to, because again, they haven't broken any laws. They were talked to in airports. And yet Sarah Huckabee Sanders multiple times trotted out that fake statistic. Chris Wallace had to take her to task on Fox News over it.
Not Chris Wallace.
Yes, he did. So there was that. Even more particular and sort of ridiculous is you might remember him telling this story over and over about the fact that cars were being stopped driving across the southern border out in the desert with women duct taped in the back seat. He just kept saying that over and over again. And so that's weird. Weirder though is the Border Patrol doing work to try to make you seem right. So this was an email sent out by Armando Sanchez, acting assistant chief of the US Border Patrol, that asked everyone in the agency to forward any information that you may have in any format regarding those claims. So if you have anything, if anything in this article rings a bell, please give it to us because we need this for Trump because nobody knows what he's talking about. And so that was what the Border Patrol was tasked with for some time. Let's see, in other areas. So Jim Acosta, they suspended his press credentials, and to explain why they needed to do that, do you remember, let's take a look at the screenshot. You remember Speed Up Gate? So this was where they sped up video, and Sarah Huckabee Sanders tweeted this out to make it look like he was karate chopping a female intern when in fact he was doing no such thing. This was so that they could not have Jim Acosta bothering them in press briefings back when those happened.
Yes.
I have others, but feel free to jump in.
It's just like, there's the normalization argument. He is normalizing the abnormal, which happens all the time. That's how things become norms. They weren't normal and then we did them enough and now they're normal. But the question is, what kind of abnormal is bad? And this kind of abnormal is bad because we can't trust anything. We can't, and we have proof. The thing is, we absolutely have proof that they are lying about things. We present it, and nothing happened.
We literally played that video showing side by side the actual video and the sped up video, and Republicans were like, "What name so? This doesn't look like anything to me."
Yeah, it doesn't look like anything to me.
It's two videos playing side by side. Anyway, super fast, just to give you an idea of how many different areas. Exactly. So back before the midterms, he said that middle income Americans are gonna get a 10% tax cut before the midterm elections to boost his numbers. Nobody in government knew what he was talking about, and Congress wasn't in session, so no legislation could actually be passed. So administration officials considered a symbolic non-binding resolution to signal to voters that someday, if the Republicans hold on to the House, they could get that. But he just said, he didn't say like someday or we're gonna try. He's saying you're getting a 10% tax cut. And that meant that then government just had to be, oh, okay, let's come up with something. Let's try to pretend that this is the truth, and it's not. Like obviously, I mean, he started his presidency with this image, the inaugurations. He pressured Park Service to find photos to make it look like he had more people at his inauguration. So this goes way back to the very beginning.
This is what dictators do.
Exactly.
This is in line with Kim Jong-un has gotten 18 holes in one while playing golf.
And that's impressive.
It's really impressive.
Yeah.
And if you can make that reality, it's super awesome for you.
Sharpie the hole. But here's why it's worrisome, and here's why I think it's worth focusing on. So it's one thing to Sharpie, a map because the hurricane didn't go where you wanted it to or thought that it might or whatever. But what about when he sets up official inquisitions for much more consequential stuff like the results of elections? So after the 2016 election, which he won, even though he won, he still claimed that millions of votes had been cast illegally, and they set up a voter fraud commission that had multiple meetings. It was a sham to begin with. That was how he reacted to an election that he won. If he can't accept that Alabama wasn't hit by a hurricane or wasn't gonna be hit by a hurricane, what if he lost the election? You know, what if it was a couple electoral votes, the difference between him winning and losing? What if Wisconsin had gone the other way and instead of him winning by 18,000 votes, he lost by 18,000 votes? If he can't accept that he's wrong about weather, what makes you think he'd accept that he was wrong about the results of his reelection bid?
Now, here's one way to move on that intelligence, that question anyways, that rhetorical setup, is to just get everyone you know to vote. Like, honestly, stop what you're doing around the presidential election and actually hit the turf.
Yeah.
And get people to vote, because this is horrible. Like, we're all like numbed to it. It's like, and we can normalize crazy things all the time. We're fine with giraffes. It's a giant horse whose neck is 15 feet long, and we're fine with it. We have a giraffe president. We're just like, oh, that just is how it is. It's as ridiculous as a giraffe being president.
I'd take it.
You know what I mean?
I'd take it.
I think we should do a primal scream.
You want to?
But like
Not right now,
a choreograph. What do you think? We should talk about this off camera and coordinate. And I want people to send you tweets because you're better at Twitter than me. But like, should we do a primal scream where we all send out like a script to everyone, and at like 10 p.m. everyone opens their window and shouts the same thing out the window at the same time,
like that college in Germany.
We used to do it in college during finals week.
That's true. Anyway, look, I want to give credit to Greg Sargent of the Washington Post for collecting some of these instances that you might remember. I know that it seems like a stupid story, but I do think that it says something important about his psychology and potentially the future of our government.
Thanks for watching this free clip of the Young Turks. Don't forget to become a TYT member today. For more exclusive content, join now at tyt.com/join.